Roswell in 1947 brought the concept of UFOs to the world, and since then, people have never stopped talking about strange objects coming from the sky. Every time they appear in thousands of UFO encounters in history, we have at times been very close to them, from detecting them on radar, seeing them with the naked eye, to even shooting down UFOs. However, most records contain very little information about something extremely important, which is the creatures that actually control UFOs, or as we call them, aliens. Therefore, every time information about aliens appears, it will almost immediately cause a stir in the research-loving community. A typical example is the two strange mummies brought out during a hearing at the Mexican Congress not long ago. However, usually, even if we come into contact with aliens, we mostly come into contact with them through bodies from UFO crashes or strange corpses found. But saying that doesn't mean that there aren't exceptional cases in which we come into contact with living space guests, do not suffer any harm, and even capture them alive. So how did that special meeting happen? What do we get from those meetings? Don't take your eyes off the screen. We will know that after watching the entire video, UFO event, alien capture. Thank you, dear viewers, for choosing to support us. Please quickly press like and subscribe to the channel to help the team have more motivation to create more new and better quality products. Now, let's get right to the main content. Early on the morning of January 13, 1996, Brazilian authorities received a warning from the North American Aerospace Defense Command that their radar had detected an unidentified flying object northeast of São Paulo. Not long after, the UFO was confirmed to have crashed on the outskirts of the city of Varginha in the Brazilian state of Minas Gerais. This scene was accidentally seen by Orina de Freitas and Dias, a farming couple who got up early to go to work that day as usual. Orina was preparing breakfast for her family when suddenly, something very strange happened outside. The cattle in the camp, which was originally peaceful, suddenly panicked and ran everywhere as if they had encountered a predator. Orina looked out the window curiously, trying not to believe what she saw. It was a strange object floating in the air. Although she was very frightened, she was still alert enough to call her husband Erico to come out and see. According to the couple's description, the strange object has a shape and size similar to a school bus. It floated in the air, moving slowly. Even more strange is that even though it is so big, it moves completely silently, without any noise. It seemed like it was having trouble. White smoke continuously emitted around it. A few minutes after the sighting, the UFO quietly landed at the foot of the mountain in the distance. The Freitas couple were not the only witnesses to see unidentified flying objects. On the other side of the mountain, a university professor, Carlos de Souza, also witnessed the incident quite clearly while driving on a nearby road. Carlos suddenly noticed that, about 300 to 400 meters above the ground, there was a giant disc flying towards the road. The object's tail was damaged. It emitted thick white smoke and slowly descended. However, when it was only 100 meters above the ground, the object began to fly again. At a certain height, seemingly unable to hold on any longer, the object freely fell to the ground. At that time, Carlos had absolutely no concept of UFOs. He thought it was some kind of plane crash. Carlos thought about rushing to save people, so he drove to the place where the flying object fell. However, the scene at the scene left him in shock. The surrounding area was full of debris from flying objects. When he got out of the car, Carlos smelled a strong smell of ammonia, as if many rotten eggs had been broken. He had to cover his nose with clothes, but his eyes were still wet with tears from the smoke. When he walked closer to the flying object and looked closer, he noticed that the texture of the debris resembled aluminum foil. In Carlos's words, it's like foil wrapped around a grilled chicken. Carlos picked up a small piece. It was extremely light and thin. He easily rolled it into a ball with his hands, but when he let go, the fragment stretched back to its original shape immediately. Just as Carlos was struggling to know what to do next, several Brazilian army trucks also arrived. They immediately threatened and chased Carlos away immediately. In 1996, Carlos gave a short interview to the media and described the situation at that time. However, immediately after that interview, he disappeared from public view for 26 years. Why is that? If this UFO crash ended like that, it would disappear into history as if it had never happened, because it was simply a few vague accounts with unknown witnesses. But fortunately, things are not so simple. 7 days later, on January 20th, 1996, the three girls were Katia Xavier, 22 years old, Lillian Silva, 16 years old, lives near the Makim gym in Sonda, Varginha, and 14-year-old Valkyria Silva experienced something that girls will never forget for a lifetime. Before that, Lillian was walking in front, followed by the other two girls. As they passed by a wall, Lillian suddenly saw a terrifying creature crouching by the wall. She screamed in panic. Kia and Valkyria quickly ran over and also saw the creature. They described the creature as having a brown body, looking slippery and greasy, with very large red eyes. The head has no hair but has 3 protruding buds. There seems to be no mouth, and there is no expression on the face. This creature's arms are very thin, clamped tightly between its legs. The girls could feel the creature seeing them, as scared as they were. Finally, the girls ran home and told what they saw to Luisa Silva, Lillian, and Valkyria's mother. All 3 of them believed that they had encountered some kind of demon and were haunted for a long time. When Luisa persuaded her 3 daughters to take her back to the wall again, the strange creature had disappeared. But Luisa still believed her child's words. Why does she believe this? That's because she saw this creature's footprints on the ground. It only has 3 toes, and like Carlos, 4 smells a very unpleasant odor. The girls said it was the smell of rotten eggs. Luisa described the smell as worse and more pungent than sulfur. She could still smell it for the next 20 days. She even had to use alcohol to cover up the feeling of that terrible smell. After the girls reported their findings, military trucks appeared again. Varginha residents said this was the first time they had seen soldiers so armed, as if they were ready for battle in the city. Soldiers blocked the streets, pointing guns at anyone who tried to cross the blockade. After the army sealed off the streets, they began searching. Officer Marco Cherre and his companion Eric Lopes received orders to patrol the area where the girls witnessed strange creatures. While they were on duty, a creature suddenly ran towards them. In front of their car and across the street, Marco immediately got out of the car, rushed forward, grabbed the creature with his bare hands, and took him to the hospital. In the process, this creature scratched Marco, and its strange slime stuck to him. At first, Marco didn't pay much attention to this, but soon he felt a bit uncomfortable. The next 2 weeks, Marco's body got worse and worse. His whole body also exuded a stench like rotten eggs. Ultimately, he had to go to the hospital for treatment. Cesario Lincolnfado, the doctor involved in treating Marco, said the entire medical team conducted all possible tests but absolutely could not find the cause of the disease, let alone diagnose it. Devise an effective treatment plan. The only thing the doctors were sure of was that Marco's immune system had completely shut down. On February 10, 1996, Marco, just 23 years old, was taken to the ICU for emergency treatment and was pronounced dead 5 hours later. According to common sense, because the cause of Marco's illness had not been clearly determined and his death was so strange, the hospital considered performing an autopsy for further research. However, Marco's sister, Marta Tavares, said about another extremely strange move. After the ICU doctor declared Marco dead, he ordered him to be put in a coffin and buried as soon as possible. Although the report released by the hospital showed that Marco died from sepsis and then a lung infection, many people still suspect that Marco may have been infected with an alien virus of unknown origin. It sounds crazy, but Marco clearly came into contact with the strange creature without any protective gear on. Is this true? Also, that day it wasn't just Marco, but also his partner. So what is the fate of Eric Perez? For decades, many people have tried to contact Eric to find out what happened that night. but without success. Until the documentary film crew, The Time of Contact, found information about various channels, but he not only said that he would chase away guests with bullets, but also repeatedly warned that they would encounter person. There will be trouble if you don't stop. Although there was no definitive information from Eric, his reaction seemed to imply that this incident was not simple. It should be buried forever. Let's go back to January 20th, 1996, the day Marco captured the alien. Through many declassified documents, it is known that, in fact, a total of 2 alien creatures were captured. One was captured by Marco on the spot as mentioned, and the other was captured by the local fire department in Varginha the previous morning when the girls witnessed the alien creature. That day, the fire department received many calls from residents. People reported seeing scary animals somewhere and asked firefighters to come catch them. When the firefighters set out, they thought it was a ferocious wild animal, but when they arrived at the reporting location, they saw a creature with brown skin, as if it had just come out of an oil tank, with a pair of eyes. Big, scary red eyes. After many hours of pursuit, firefighters finally captured the strange creature. According to witnesses present, firefighters said they caught a creature whose cry sounded like a baby crying. In the area where the girls discovered the alien creature and Marco captured it, there was a family who told the Moment of Contact crew about their strange experience. Just one night after the alien creature was captured, when their family went out to receive the food they had just ordered, they saw a strange object appear in the sky. The object was very large, silver in color, but emitted very red light. It resembled a rapidly spinning disc, hovering in the sky for about 15 minutes, as if searching for something. And perhaps many people have somewhat guessed that the alien creature captured by humans before was probably the alien pilot on the crashed cigar-shaped UFO. This saucer-shaped UFO is most likely the same team as the crashed cigar-shaped UFO, coming to search for the missing pilot. However, it was one step late, and humans caught it first. So, what happened to the 2 mysteriously captured aliens? What testimony did the witnesses, the military, and the hospital involved give? What strange discoveries have UFO investigation experts made? The producer of the documentary Time of Contact, James Fox, also revealed that there was an important detail that he did not include in the documentary. We will continue to answer these extremely mysterious questions in the following section. To summarize a bit, here we are having a UFO crash and the capture of 2 alien creatures of unknown origin. One captured by the fire department on January 20th, and another was arrested by Officer Marco that night. For ease of distinction, we will refer to them as organism number 1 and organism number 2, respectively. Both organisms were sent to 2 different hospitals. Organism number 1 was sent to Humanitas Hospital, and organism number 2 was sent to the local hospital in Varginha. First, let's talk about creature number 2 that Marco caught. According to those involved, after being captured, creature number 2 was dying and did not survive the next day. So what really happened after it was taken to the hospital in Varginha? 26 years later, the old radiologist himself had some remarkable shares. However, he requested that his appearance not be revealed, and even his voice had to be changed to ensure his safety. The doctor said that at that time, there were up to 10 soldiers guarding the hospital. No one was allowed in or out. 2 other people and 2 officers entered the hospital and took out a black bag from the trunk. An officer asked the doctor to help him take an X-ray, but warned him not to allow him to open the bag. After the doctor carefully took the scan as requested, the military did not show the photos and said, "Thank you very much. Your work has been completed. We ask you not to give any information about what you saw and did. This concerns your own safety." The doctor also mentioned that the creature in the black bag emitted a very strong odor, like a mixture of ammonia and sulfur, completely consistent with the testimony of previous witnesses. Even after the army left with the bag, the stench did not go away and lingered at the hospital. They had to process it for a long time before reopening to serve everyone. The doctor also especially emphasized that the smell was extremely unpleasant because he kept smelling it in his nose and respiratory system for about 3 to 4 days after. And you probably remember Miss Liz Silva that we mentioned in the previous section. She once said that she could smell the stench for days and had to use alcohol to clean her nose. She and this doctor did not know each other at all, but shared a relatively similar description. Putting aside the story about creature number 2, this time we will see what happened to creature number 1. Unexpectedly, everything seemed much more strange. Creature number 1 was still alive when taken to the hospital, but in an extremely weak condition. The military asked the doctor to quickly perform surgery on it. In the documentary called The Brazilian UFO Crash, the Varginha Incident, a soldier working as a security guard at the hospital area made a phone call to the editor-in-chief of UFO magazine. He talked about his strange experience. The other soldier said he couldn't believe his eyes because what was on the stretcher was a real alien creature. While the doctor was operating on the alien creature, he had to keep strict guard in the operating room. At that time, he did not know whether the alien creature was alive or dead, nor whether the doctors were doing an autopsy or conducting treatment. He only saw that the doctors were busy, and the expressions on their faces were the same as his, filled with tension and panic. The other soldier described the alien creature as about 1 meter tall, with greasy brown skin. Not only that, what's even scarier is that it has big eyes and a pair of claw-like hands. This alien creature gives off a very unpleasant smell. Their superiors were even worried that people would get sick from this terrible smell. After the surgery was successful, he and his teammates were kicked out, and the doctor finally declared the alien dead. In the documentary Moment of Contact, a soldier nicknamed military soldiers from the military base in Cacos and transported them to the city of Varginha. First, he followed the Secret Service officers to the local Varginha hospital and then to the Humanitas hospital. At this hospital, he saw an astonishing scene. In a certain room of the hospital, a stainless steel box was placed on the table. There was a creature in the box, definitely not a human, with dark brown, oily skin. The creature's upper body is covered, but just by looking at its legs and feet, you can tell it's not human, with its toes looking V-shaped. In some ways, this matches Luisa Silva's description, as she confirmed seeing creature number 2's footprints on the ground. After they carried the stainless steel box back to the military base, Military X was called to a military officer's office, stared into his eyes and asked him what he was seeing, and of course, to stay out of trouble. He said he saw a man being burned to death. Then the officer went on to tell the military. This is not allowed to be revealed or even mentioned in the slightest. But things cannot stop here. While creature number 1 was being treated at the hospital, the producer of the documentary said in an interview that the creature used brainwave communication with 2 medical staff and had conversation with them. The reason they didn't include this part in their documentary was because they needed video testimony from medical staff. But that didn't seem easy.